Hello and welcome to a special preview of a special day. It's day 2 of Goodwood's fabled Qatar Goodwood Festival, and it features the Sussex Stakes Group 1, which we'll be talking about later on in the card. It's nice to have both John Blance and Graham Cunningham, as per yesterday, and all World Pool previews in-house to preview the racing for us. And that starts off with race 1 on Wednesday, which is locally the 120. It's a handicap over 2,400 metres. Let's show you the runners for it. Headed by an Irish runner, Ryan Moore rides Omni-Man for Joseph O'Brien. Number 2 is Singers a Song. 3 is Karaka, Ross Orion, Alan King. 4, Cape Breton. Sudu is 5. Further down, Novelista, Jupiter Ammon, Tuscan Star, and Madawi for trainer Charlie Johnston, whose father Mark had a very good record indeed in this particular race. So 2,400 metres. Let's show you the track and trip. I'm sure you'll be familiar with the layout of this extraordinary race course from day 1, and indeed from previous years, of course. But just showing you the test that they've got to take in. Once again, as mentioned, John and Graham are in situ to talk us through the runners for Wednesday. Starting off with race 1. John, I'm going to go to you first up. And in a decent handicap at Newmarket's July Festival, Karaka's third place effort.
Yeah, this was a good run back down in trips. So this horse has already won at 12 furlongs, which is a definite help as far as this race on Wednesday is concerned. But the piece of VT we're looking at here was over the 10. They went quite slowly mid-race here, and they sped up to 108% finishing speed. So Karaka was always going to find it tricky to overhaul those who'd got the jump on him, but he stayed on pretty well, up to 12 furlongs ideal. I'm slightly concerned that some of the pace has gone out of the race now, and that might not be ideal for him. But if they do go a strong gallop, he'll be staying on at the finish.
I think the extra distance, as you said, is going to be key to this horse. That was a good race at Newmarket. Graham, I'm going to come to you with some form earlier this month. It was at Epsom, and it was a hack job for Sudu. How good's this form?
I think it's strong. Let's have a look at what Sudu does first. He was desperately unlucky the run before this when caught in heavy traffic at Newbury. It's not a big field at Epsom, and it's not a stronger race as Wednesday's. But this horse absolutely bolts up. He cruises along. He powers clear late on. And do bear in mind, the second horse here, Navid, has come out and won a reasonable race at Salisbury. So it's had a real polish. The handicap has taken a right whack at him, £11. But Roger Varian won this race 12 months ago. I think he might win it again because Sudu, I think, is still a well-handicapped horse, gents.
Interesting. I can see the angle with Sudu. We've got a maiden in the form of Jupiter Ammon. We're going to go back to early July form once again, John. This was at Sandown, second for the second successive run, albeit this one much tighter. Has actually got an entry later in the week at Goodwood. You never know. Might run twice. But is he a winner from Wednesday, do you think?
There's possibilities. Again, it's a speed map thing. He got a beautiful ride here from Machine Murphy, got to the front, slowed things down a little bit, was only beaten by a horse called Yabba, who was also in this race at the 5-day stage, who I fancied strongly, but doesn't actually take up the engagement now. But again, if this one can get to a prominent position from stall 4, which I think he can, it might be difficult to overhaul. He was overhauled by a very promising horse that day.
Graham, I'm going to go to you with a horse who's actually won at Goodwood, albeit on much different ground than he'll see on Wednesday. That's Singers a Song, who comes out of everyone's favourite handicap at Royal Ascot, and prior to that, won at Sandown.
Yeah, this Sandown form is strong. This was a really good start to Singers a Song's season. You can see him on the inside. He's an uncomplicated ride. We'll come to Ascot in a moment, but this form has worked out very well with several winners in behind. At 1.25 miles. He has got Goodwood form. He won his maiden at Goodwood, albeit on deep ground last autumn. And then from this race, he went on to be well fancied for the King George V handicap at Royal Ascot. But he blew the start badly from a high draw, could never get competitive. Should mention Omni-Man, who was ahead of him, running really well in that race. He comes into the reckoning again. But Singers a Song did not get a chance to show how good he is at Royal Ascot. He should get every chance at Goodwood. And he's a major player, I think.
Graham, we're going to go to you with the 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we are talking a little way out from the race. I'm sure the markets will shape up nearer the time, but it is looking open, this.
It is, but it's not as big a field as you would normally expect for this race. So I'm keen on my top 2 here. They are 5 and 2. Sudu and Singers a Song. Omni-Man has been running really well, including at Royal Ascot, and 3, Karaka. So I like the shape of this race. It's important to differentiate the real headaches from the ones you like. I like this one. It's 5-2. 1 and 3 in race 1 on Wednesday.
Good luck, Graham. John, what about you?
Yeah, I did like that Sing Us a Song run at Sandown. Of course, the Wathnan boys saw fit to get the checkbook out after that. Really did find as well when challenged, and as Graham said, was unlucky at Ascot. So in a race, as I say, I'm not too sure there's a huge amount of pace. Sing Us a Song up in trip can go very well here, I reckon. Omni Man's got a good draw after a good run at Ascot, so I think that King George V form is going to come to the fore here. Jupiter Ammon again in a race, if they don't go too strong, can go well. Karaka from the back. I've left out Sudu. It might be a mistake. I'm just thinking the more prominently positioned horses here might have an advantage.
Very much a difference of opinion then from Graham and John. Looking forward to race 1. Best of luck, whatever you're playing. Karaka for me to get us off to a good start. Race 2 at Goodwood this Wednesday, which you can enjoy on a big whirlpool day. It's the Oak Tree Stakes, it's run over 1,400 metres for the Phillies and the Mares. Looking forward to this race. It is a group race. It's the first group race of the day, and it is the HKJC Whirlpool Oak Tree Stakes. And we've got 14 declared runners for it in 2025. They're headed by Bright Thunder. Chic Columbine ran in the race last year is number 2. Cloud Cover, interesting runner, is 3. Fair Angelica, 4. Havana Puzzi. Jabara, controversially or not, first past the post, but didn't win the race outright last year. Jasna's Secret, 7. Romantic Star for Godolphin is 8. Arabian Dusk, down to 4 more. Sakara Sand, Silver Ghost. And at the bottom, one of the 3 rolls in the field is Tabiti. Now, we're going to go back to some whirlpool form, John. As we show you first up the course map they're going to take in the 1,400 metres, and of course they will get to the top of the home straight, doubtless find some form of formation. Some of these might find trouble in running, and you never know, we might get a bit of a blockbuster finish like last year. But as mentioned, John, I teased it, we're going to go back to Epsom Whirlpool Day. It was a success in a group race for Spiritual, who was entered for this, doesn't run, but a couple from in behind her do, and that includes Bright Thunder, who's since gone on to win a decent race in France.
Yeah, the pre-Goldacova over there at Deauville. This horse races very prominently. She's got the class at sort of high listed and Group 3 level. She was well beaten here by Spiritual, but if Spiritual had turned up, she'd have been extremely tough to beat here. So now that she doesn't go, Bright Thunder is the obvious next cab off the rank. Gate 12, a little bit tricky, but I think she'll just go prominent anyway, try and come across, get a position. She's definitely one for the numbers.
I'm going to go to a completely different surface here, Graham, and bring in last year's first past the post Jabara, who of course is better on turf, and the excellent all-weather horse Cloud Cover. This was Chelmsford at the start. And I should mention with Cloud Cover, this will be her swan song, it seems, because she's in foal to Kingman, and she's got, I think, until the 22nd of August to run. So they're having a go at the Oak Tree with her. Yeah,
that's really good info. And if you just look at this race in isolation, gents, you'd think, yes, Cloud Cover is just a better horse than Jabara, who is there with every chance in the yellow. But there's more to it than that. Jabara was free from a wide draw on a surface that's not her best. Cloud Cover absolutely excels on this surface. All her 8 wins have been on a synthetic surface. And my question, as regards Cloud Cover, be James Tate has got halfway through this mare's 5-year-old season. She's only ever had 2 runs on turf. That tells me that he thinks she's a better horse on the all-weather. And we know from this race 12 months ago that Jabara is a very potent force on the green stuff.
Yeah, and because, as I said, she is in foal, they're having to have a go. So we'll see how we go. Let's talk and get both of your opinions. Graham, I'll actually start with you because I know you like Jabara. Talk us through the finish of this race last year.
Well, I think the stewards were right to brandish the expulsion tool in Jabara's direction. Pick her up, right of picture, and she's travelling really well. She's a very consistent filly. She goes well at Goodwood, but here, as you can see, once she starts to kick for home, she starts to drift to the right. I think that filly in the Shadwell colours, Rakia, is the one who gets quite badly hampered. She rallies, gets within a very close margin to Jabara, and the stewards decided she lost more ground than she was beaten by. Ergo, Jabara was taken down, but she's remained in really good form since, by and large. She won that listed race at Musselburgh for the 2nd year running. Everything points to a big run from Jabara. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think the connections have had this race in mind for a very long time. You made a good point about that Chelmsford run. She reeled off 2 sub-11 sectionals in the early part of that race. She pulled far too hard. If you notice on that VT from Goodwood last year, she was much further back in the run on that occasion. I think she'd be ridden more conservatively here. And yeah, I mean, she's got unfinished business in this race. Haven't got her on top, but I think she'll be there or thereabouts.
Okay, look, in summation, I guess in my head, Graham, how many of these could finish second in a Falmouth to Port of Fortuna? Jabara did just that. Are you with her in an open-looking race, potentially?
It is an open race, and it's a big enough field to suggest that we might have a Hard Luck Story, or even a Klaxon again. But I'm a Jabara fan. 6 Jabara, 8 Romantic Style, has had a bit of a truncated career, but when she's good, she's a smart filly for Godolphin. 14 Tabiti, John will talk more about her in a moment. Really good performance in headgear under a big weight at Royal Ascot. And 1 Bright Thunder, she might get chopped for speed back at 1400 metres, but she is good enough to run well. 6, 8, 14, 1 with Jabara to complete the unfinished business.
It is just that. First past the post, will she stay there this year? Right. John, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tabiti on top. Ryan Moore taking them out, which is interesting jockey booking. Gate 7, not absolutely ideal, but not a bad draw either. It was a really good run in the Sandringham. It's not easy to try and make all there, and she nearly did. It was a funny race, the Sandringham, but it was still difficult over that 8 furlongs at Ascot to do that. So I think the drop back in trip will be ideal. Her curve is an upward one, and I'm just going to take a marginal preference for her. Bright Thunder in there for second. She's done very little wrong all season. Jabara in for third, and Cloud Cover on her swan song to finish in fourth. But I think Tabiti with Ryan Moore on top is a very interesting contender.
Not a bad jockey booking. I'm going to go with Graham. I think Jabara, she's the hard knocker. She's got so much consistent form at this kind of level and above, and I think she'll win and go one better technically than last year. Race 3 this big day on Wednesday, which you can enjoy, of course, from Goodwood, is the HKJC Whirlpool Molecomb Stakes. It's for the fastest 2-year-olds about. 1,000 metres is the test. It's a Group 3 race, and 8 have been declared in 2025. This really will be over very soon, this race. They'll be out like a gun, and off they go. Number 1 is Amique. Number 2 is Dickensian. 3, the very interesting Irish runner under Ryan Moore, Lady Aman. Military Code goes for Godolphin, William Buick and Charlie Appleby. Rogue Supremacy is 2 from 4 so far is 5. Rardell Frosty is 6. Sands of Spain 7. And Argentine Tango, who had other options this week, is number 8, having a busy but a good 2-year-old year. So this is the shortest possible distance. They'll do it right in front of the grandstand and thunder down towards us, all over in way less than a minute. And this £100,000 prize, we're looking forward to seeing who will win it. Let's go back to the start of the month and take in a couple of these. John Blance, I'll go to you. It's a Sandown race. Dale won it. We saw her in action at the weekend, but this is not bad form. It brings into calculations a couple of these, chiefly Military Code for Godolphin.
Yeah, this was a real strongly run race. They came home in the end quite slowly because they were really bashing out the early fast sectionals. And this horse, Military Code, had to make ground into the pace possibly a bit earlier than was absolutely ideal. And you can see Strayer picks him up in the closing stages. First 2 have gone well on from the rest. So I think making that slightly earlier move than ideal wasn't perfect for Military Code. And Rogue Supremacy, a little bit unlucky in the run, didn't find a gap up the rail, had to come wide, stayed on okay when the others had got the jump on it. So I haven't got that one in the numbers, but I think Military Code's got to be in there.
Graham, a lot of people are going to be excited about the presence of this Starman filly, Lady Iman, who is 3 from 4 so far. They learned probably that she's not the 1,200-metre horse last time, but she has got some absolutely outstanding form so far, hasn't she?
I think she's going to polarise opinions. Some will point to the fact that her trainer, Irish trainer Ger Lyons, hasn't got a flash strike rate in Britain of late. Some will point to the fact that she lost her unbeaten record, but Coolmore did a bit of a job on her here. They made it a real searching test of stamina over 6 furlongs, stiff 6 at the Courage On, and she just didn't see it out quite as well as looked likely 2 furlongs from home.
Yeah, I think a really properly run 5 furlongs is ideal for her rather than that 6 furlongs that we saw there. And there's going to be plenty of pace in this race. Dickensian will blaze away. Rydale Frosty, Sands of Spain and Meek Argentine Tango all pretty much nailed on to produce lots more pace in the race. So Lady Iman, I can just foresee her sitting 3 or 4 lengths off them and finishing well. We
should mention 2 things. One, she has a £3 penalty, having won a Group 3 race. But even with that penalty, she comes out very well at the weights. And with her regular rider, Colin Keane, suspended, Ger Lyons has called up the governor, Ryan Moore, to ride Lady Iman.
Ger Lyons, his record at Goodwood, 0 from 5, 2 seconds and a third. Might that change? We'll find out. Who's on top for you, Graham?
I'm going to go with Lady Iman. As John set up nicely, that stalk and pounce style could suit her really well. And she's got a very high cruising speed. Dickensian is the one I want at a price as a potential Quinello horse. He's lightly raced. He showed tons of speed. Really good second in the Windsor Castle. 4 Military Code is no star, but he's solid. And 1 Amique, another horse who ran well at Royal Ascot. So 3, 2, 4, 1 with the Irish filly, Lady Iman on top.
John Blance.
Yeah, very similar numbers for me. Slightly different order, but Lady Iman on top. But like I said before, this test should be absolutely right up her street. Like Military Code in there for second. I can see him following her home. Dickensian did flash incredible speed in that Windsor Castle Stakes, a race in which in its own way is working out quite nicely. So I can see that one hanging on for a minor position. And Amique, as Graham said, ran fourth in the Norfolk, so has got some really solid Royal Ascot credentials too. So yeah, 3, 4, 2 and 1. Very similar numbers.
Yeah, you won't be getting 100 to 1 about Amique on this occasion as he was at Royal Ascot. I'm going to make it a clean sweep and go for Lady Iman to win the Molecomb Stakes, the HKJC Whirlpool Molecomb Stakes. You can enjoy it as race 3. Best of luck, whatever you're playing. As opposed to the big race of the day, and for many, the big race of the entire week is the Sussex Stakes, the Visit Qatar Sussex Stakes. It's a Group 1 race. It's a legacy race as well. It might just be that stallion shaping event, 1,600 metres, Group 1 race, and it has been the scene of duels on the downs of years gone by. Can't wait for it. 2025, the runners look like this. We've got 7 of some international appeal. There is Carl Spackler, horse number 1, under Shane Foley. Number 2, the Queen Anne winner, Docklands. Number 3, very interesting, the fact that he's there, Kirat, who's been supplemented at huge cost as a pacemaker for his owner mate Field of Gold. Number 4 is Rosalian, who gets to run in the race this year. Field of Gold, the outstanding 3-year-old. Number 5, Omri Matisse is 6, and Serengeti, very big price runner and stablemate of Omri Matisse, is 7. So let's just show you the 1,600 metre test that it is and think back to some of those great races of not even that long ago. Frankel and Camford Cliffs, more recently Kingman, the sire of Field of Gold, of course, beating Coronado. We've had some brilliant races and looking forward to seeing what this course and distance serves up this year. Gentlemen, we'll go straight in. And Graham, the outstanding 3-year-old so far, the only unbelievably inexplicable blemish on his career is that he was beaten in the Guineas, just like his dad, Kingman, who won this race. Does Field of Gold, as we see him winning the Irish 2000 Guineas, like his dad, follow in his old man hoof prints?
I think the 2000 Guineas at Newmarket, that defeat is explicable myself, based on the tactics. But here, Colin Keane replacing Kieran Schumacher, and he settled better than he has done in his early days. He swept by, and John, the great thing about this horse is when he goes, he sustains his acceleration. It's not rapier acceleration like his old man Kingman, who clocked 10.22 for the penultimate furlong in his Sussex. But when he goes in style, isn't he?
He does, and it's going to be interesting to see pace-wise what happens here, because they've got Kirat engaged in the race. Coolmore have got Serengeti as well. There's potential for tactical intrigue. I think, though, they'd be very well served with Kirat to go as hard as possible, because we know that off a strong gallop, the like of which he got there at the Curragh and at Royal Ascot at the St James Palace Stakes, this fella really does excel, and they'd want to try and take luck out of the equation, I think.
We've got some really good Group 1 horses running around in Europe at the moment, but if there's one horse who can spring up and dominate them all, it could be this fella. At Royal Ascot, he demolished 2 classic winners, Henri Matisse, more of him in a moment, and Ruling Court. And if Field of Gold is in that sort of form at Goodwood, in what will be a strongly run race, yes, exactly, Nick, he could provide the highlight of the week.
Yeah, it's funny, his trainer, John Gosden, said about his dad, Kingman, he said he's the only horse he's had who could change all 6 gears at once. Field of Gold is not like that, but he's a pretty good animal. Looking forward to seeing him. And John, looking forward to this year. 1 year on, we didn't get it last year. Seeing Rosalian actually in this race, it's exciting.
Yeah, of course we did want to see him 12 months ago. It didn't quite happen. But this is his run when winning the Irish 2000 Guineas well over a year ago. Now, he had to make ground into the quickening part of the race. This was a really good run, marked him out as a stellar 3-year-old miler. Of course, injury got in his way for the rest of the campaign. He's been a bit underwhelming so far this year, of course, that run in the Lockinge. And then I thought in the Queen Anne, he was absolutely perfectly positioned to win, and he was done by Docklands in quite a strange race. So he's got 1 or 2 questions to answer, Graham, but I think if he can get back to his best, and hopefully they have worked him back to his best, I don't think he'll win, but hopefully he'll be able to do himself justice on Wednesday afternoon.
Agreed. I think he will. And I think the key to that, John and Nick, is the strong gallop. He hasn't had a really strong gallop since the English 2000 Guineas, when he was too close to that pace. So settled off a really strong pace. We should see the very best of Rosalian. We need to see a bit more, because he was beaten by Docklands in the Queen Anne, and Cairo wasn't too far behind. So you cannot possibly put that level of form comparable to what Field of Gold achieved in the St James's Palace. But he adds a lot of spice to the mix, and a strong gallop should see him at least top 3 and probably top 2.
Okay, let's go back to the back end of last season and the international appeal of Henri Matisse, who won a a Breeders' Cup at the end of his 2-year-old year. He's a French Guineas winner. Graham, this is, of course, we're just seeing him, but more relevant recently would, of course, be his 3.5 length defeat in the St James's Palace to Field of Gold. Different track, different day, different setup. Can he get closer to Field of Gold?
He might do, but you'd be amazed if he could beat him, to be honest. Here he's beating smart horses, but not top quality ones. And I think he's got a little less quirky as he's got on, John. He used to hang. He was really good in the French Guineas when he got a perfect tactical setup. He did catch a slight nudge on the way through from Rashabar when he was making ground at St James Palace. But the fact is, on the ratings, he got a £10 beating from Field of Gold, and the winner looked full value.
Yeah, he's a bit one-dimensional, this fellow. He's got a very good one dimension, but it is one dimension. He sits a long way off the pace, and as we saw at Del Mar there, he unleashes a good turn of foot and goes past tiring horses. But unless Serengeti, his pacemaker, sets an incredibly strong gallop, which then maybe takes 1 or 2 out of their rhythm, and maybe Field of Gold gets a bit too close to that, I think for Henri Matisse to win, something will have to have gone wrong with Field of Gold in the tactical setup, and I don't think that's going to happen. Okay,
then. On to the 1, 2, 3, 4. We do have seemingly a couple of these that are just making up the numbers from a pace setup. Cream expected to rise to the top. Just give us your order, Graham.
5, 4, 6, 2. It's the way the form book suggests they ought to finish. It's the way I think they will finish. And I hope we see the spectacular from Field of Gold, because with not 1, but 2 pacemakers, then if you are a brilliant horse, you're going to get your chance to show it in this race.
John.
Yeah, I love this race. It should be an absolute belter. And it has historical echoes as well, doesn't it? Because we talked about Kingman. He took on Toronado. That was Gosden versus Hannon, 3-year-old versus the older horse. Served up a tremendous race back in 2014. And I think Field of Gold, a bit like his old man, will be beating the Hannon horse again here. 5 Field of Gold on top. Rosalian in there for 2nd to 4. Henri Matisse in for 3rd to 6. And Docklands, we sort of tend to write Docklands off or damn him with faint praises, only an Ascot horse. But he ran really well at Epsom earlier on this season. I think he can go quite well here and might spice up exotics.
Field of Gold, for me, he is an outstanding racehorse, and on a big festival week, what you want is superstars coming to the fore, and he is just that. Enjoy the Sussex Stakes wherever you're watching. Moving on to race 5 on Wednesday. It's run locally at 3:45. It's the British Stallion Stars EBF Phillies Handicap Class 2 event, 2,000 metres as we step up from the mile of the Sussex Stakes prior. 14 declared of the max field of 18, so a decent sized field. They're headed by Kehana, number 1, who's got a wider draw. Our Golden One is number 2. Asha Reba, who finished last year in great form, hasn't quite recaptured that this year. Irish Runner 4 is Akachita. Further down to Whisper, Music Peace. K Bella for Jim Crowley, locally based jockey, of course. Model Yuko is 9. Bint Jeddah is 10, Wonder Star is 11, down to Bossa Dancer and Patagonia Girl. So if you are just needing that refresh on what the maps look like and what the course, of course, sets up as at Goodwood, this is your 2,000 metre track that they will be taking in, and of course swinging to the right up the home straight. And there we go. Not always the easiest place to get a clean run. Let's go back and see. We're going to see a few of these actually, Graham, and all of them are going to finish second. One of which is Bint Jeddah, and her most recent run, which was on Newmarket's July course, finishing 2nd under Kieran Fallon. She's now got the tongue tie added.
Get your excuses in early, gents. This is a really difficult handicap. A couple of the horses I like the look of aren't declared at the 48-hour stage. Bint Jeddah is 1 from 6, Haydock last September. As you can see from this performance, she's not doing anything quickly over a mile, stiff finish on the July course at Newmarket, but she does come home quite willingly. Highly likely that she's going to be a little bit better over a mile and a quarter. Tongue tie is added to the cheek pieces. She could run well, but William Haggis has a couple in this, and Bint Jeddah didn't quite make the cut in my tentative top 4.
And I think I like the way they get the excuse that it is tricky. Music Peace. We're going to go back to Goodwood and to the height of fashion. Oaks trial at the end of May, John. She's since, of course, been to Ascot. She was beating a whisker this day over track and trip.
Yeah, I like this run. This was a real sit sprint. They absolutely thundered home off a pretty slow early gallop. Music Peace travelled very strongly. She was entitled to do, but she stuck on pretty well. The horse that won was very much advantaged by the way the race went. And I think from a good draw as well here, Music Peace, she managed to get the rail or get near to the rail, one would have thought, from stall 4 in what should be a better run race and theoretically down in class as well. I like her to run very well indeed.
Graham, let's have a look at an Well, she is a Whirlpool friend, isn't she, Akachisa? Irish Guineas Day, Irish Derby Day, not quite Whirlpool Day at Epsom, but she was still part of the big festival there at the start of last month. She generally, last time out less so, but generally runs her race. Interesting to have her at Goodwood.
Yeah, she's a likeable, consistent filly, and I think we can give her a pass on her last run, which came in a mile handicap at the Curragh, because she was right up attending a strong gallop that day, and she paid the penalty. Here she is, grey filly on the outside, coming out of the pack. Nothing looks like getting to Equerry's Secret this day, but she does better than most, gives it a good go, likeable. I was going to say consistent, and she is overall, but progressive, perhaps not. She has shown her hand to the handicapper now, and she has a few younger, open to improvement rivals to contend with at Goodwood.
There are a few of them. Some of those 3-year-olds we'll see. Right. Tricky handicap, Graham. Less straightforward than the preceding race. Of course, the Sussex Stakes on paper at least. Who wins it?
I think it might be Quebella or Quebella. Not sure how to pronounce it. I call her number 8. 8-11-9-1. Quebella got a bad run through in a really, really messy Southwell handicap last time, but she did stay on well, and I think she's on to a bit of improvement. 11 Wonder Star is a bit of an X-Factor horse. She looked really, really sharp when she bolted up at Ascot first time this season. Second one, then she was turned out quickly for an Oaks trial at Newbury. She was a bit too keen, paid the price. Significant that Haggis has given her a good break since. She could run well at a price. 9 Model Yuko is lightly raced for Roger Varian, bolted up from a subsequent winner at Wolverhampton last time. And 6 Whisper is an old favourite, 7 years of age. She was unlucky in this race last year. She's retained her form pretty well, and she might add a bit of value at a price. No great confidence here, gents, but 8, 11, 9 and 6 might give us something to shout about.
Yeah, Whisper was 5th when she had a pretty horrible run. Right, John, what about you?
Yeah, not only is it difficult to find the winner, it's difficult to work out what's going to happen tactically in this race as well. So when you've got those two metrics, finding the winner will not be an easy task. But I'm going to go with Music Piece with that Goodwood form, down in class and a good draw. I'm kind of going to play the draw speed map thing here. I do like Bint Jeddah, though. He's got a theoretically not a particularly good draw. As Graham suggested, though, she's out of a Nathaniel mare, so 10 furlongs should be absolutely ideal for her, and we saw her on the VT staying on well. Model Yuko does have a good draw there towards the rail in stall 2. Our Golden One ran pretty well last time out against a progressive type Chester. Stall 3 again. She should get a nice run in transit, but I'm not particularly pro this race, but I do think Music Piece will run a good one.
Good luck, lads. I'll go back to our old friend Akachisa in a pretty tricky race to evaluate. Her run at Epsom would give her a chance. Best of luck, whatever you're going for. The penultimate race on the day, race 6 at Goodwood this Wednesday, is for the very, very fast 2-year-old fillies. It is the Alice Keppel Fillies Conditions Race, 1,000 metres. So we're back to that track and trip, or that trip certainly for the same second time on the day. 2-year-olds, as mentioned, 11 of them go forward. Number 1 is Angel Numbers. Number 2 is Desert Jungle. Guernsey Lady is 3. LeBron Power is 4. For connections who are well represented. 5 is Luna Mia. 6 is Our Cody. Palmyra is 7. Revival Power is 8. Spicy Marg is 9. Number 10 is Temple of Athena. And number 11 is Zelena. And back to the same course map as we had for the Molecomb earlier in the day. Some of these conceivably could have run in that particular race. 1,000 metres is the test, and it will be sharp and fast. And that's exactly, Graham, what Zelena looked like on day 1. There was quite a buzz when Carl Burke took a couple of 2-year-olds to Nottingham that day prior to Royal Ascot. She looked pretty awesome on this occasion.
Well, she must have breezed like a monster, because they went to 650,000 guineas to buy her at the Breeze Up sales this spring. And look at her here. She's just powering on from a very early stage. And there's 1 or 2 fair horses in behind her. This performance, John, had the stopwatch bros purring. She went to Ascot well fancied for the Queen Mary, whether it was the occasion or whether she's just too fiery, but she went bombs away and raced too hard too early.
Yeah, she did. There was a 98% finishing speed there at Royal Ascot, and she was making all that pace early. She absolutely belted down the centre of the track. Thought it was a good effort, though, to stick on in the way that she did. She was entitled to fall further back. This will be a very fast run race, but it's not as stiff a finish as it was at our Ascot, and I can see her running well. There's loads of pace here, so it's going to have to be a little bit of a speed of the speed scenario, as the Americans would say. But I think she is so fast. She might be able to get to the front and hold on. Although I'm kind of reminded of the Striking Viking last year, who was a similar sort of horse in the Molecomb, and he was reeled in late. But I do think Zelena is going to take a lot of catching.
We must factor in price, Looks like she's going to be one of the hottest favourites of the day. Early prices here have even money slightly shorter. There is a chance, gents, that she is just a fireball.
Yeah.
That breeze must have been very aggressive. She was way too aggressive. I think she was taken down early as well at Royal Ascot. So keep all these factors in mind. She has the ability to blow the race apart or compromise her own chances by going too aggressively.
Yeah, if she's even money's too short. Definitely too short. I think she's a worthy favourite, but even money's too short.
Last 3 winners of this all went on to win group races, and that includes the Group 1 winning the Platinum Queen. So we want to see something good. Let's see what we get when Zelena and co. Graham, should we go back to a piece of form we've already looked at and could, of course, have got a tick or maybe a bit of a cross by the time we actually get to Wednesday afternoon, because a couple of horses from Sandown in July, those being Military Code and Rogue Supremacy, will have run in the Molecomb earlier in the day. We're focusing on LeBron Power. Yeah,
I heard a commentator call her LeBron Power. No fan of the NBA and the Los Angeles Lakers, I would suspect. But this is LeBron Power, and it was a solid performance in a pretty good race. But my problem at the end was that she was beaten 3.5 lengths, John. And she has a chance, and she can't really go with Steyer and Military Power. She runs all right, but not quite well enough to suggest that she can hit the high 90s mark that you generally need to win this Alice Keppel Stakes.
Yeah, she was a touch close to the pace there. We mentioned earlier on today, that pace was very strong in the early part. She'll need to be ridden slightly more conservatively, but I think she's got a chance. I've got her in the numbers if she's 2 or 3 lengths off this Molten Gallop, which we'll definitely get.
Spicy Marge, John, 5th last time in albeit small field, but it was, of course, behind one of the best 2-year-old fillies that we've seen this season.
Yes, the Carl Burke horse, who he was very, very, well, he was waxing lyrical about, wasn't he, after Ascot, and she proved it again. Yeah, proved it again here at Newmarket. And yeah, Spicy Marg ran okay. She was beaten 5 1/4 lengths on this occasion. This was quite a high quality contest, Group 2. This is back down to conditions level. She goes in the numbers for me, but again, I think she's going to be struggling to reel in 1 or 2 of the pacier types.
Okay. Zelena is going to be, for many, as you say, Graham, she might just have that banker status on the day, notwithstanding the horse we'll see in the Sussex Stakes earlier in the afternoon. Are you, after everything you said, are you with her or against her?
It's all price related. John touched on, not for me at even money or thereabouts. She has real quality, but she has real aggression. There's another filly I want to talk about here we haven't mentioned. It is an appropriately named for Goodwood, who have a big festival where everyone dresses up in old-timey outfits. Revival Power. She's bred to be a good filly. She's a full sister to Winter Power. She bolted up at Thirst first time, despite blowing the start. And she also ran in the Queen Mary. She finished a few lengths behind Zelena. But like Zelena, she did a bit too much too soon. Yep. I just think on pedigree and on the Thirst run, she has the potential to show a good bit more before too long. And at the price, I'll take my chances with Revival Power. She's on top, ahead of Zelena. They're my top 2 in the race. It's a case of price here. I'm going 8, 11, 6, and 9, and hoping for a revival in fortunes, John Blance.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Let's hope we don't need a revival in fortunes come Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, Zelena on top for me. But yeah, it comes with a government health warning at even money. But if she comes out to something like 2 to 1, 9 to 4, 5 to 2, she suddenly becomes a good bet. But we'll have to wait and see on that. LeBron Power in there for second. Luna Mia is interesting. She's basically the only hold-up horse in this race. The form is a little bit below some of the best on offer here, but if they really blow this race apart, she'll be staying on quite well and could spice up exotics at a big price, and Spicy Margin there for 4th. But it's a question of what kind of pace pressure will Zelena get, and will she be good value on the day?
Goodwood Revival Power. It is written in the stars in so many ways. I hadn't even thought of that. Right. Good luck, lads. I'm going to go for Zelena as well to confirm the promise of that first start, but hopefully she doesn't go too quick, too early. Last race of the 7, which you can enjoy on this big Whirlpool day at Goodwood this Wednesday, is the Whirlpool Bet with the Tote handicap, and it's a Class 3 event. It'll be fast and furious over 1,400 metres and a capacity field declared at the 48-hour stage, that being 20. So no easy nightcap for us. Number 1 is Native Warrior, one of the runners for Wathman in the race. Number 2 is Ross Collin, who won this once upon a time. Cracking Gold is 3. Billy Joe ran one in the race last year. Further down, Fine Interview. Blueprint won this last year. Society Man, Crimson Spirit, Great Acclaim. On to the final 10, and those being Glenfinnan, Lead Man, Mr. Chaplin, Physique, Defence Minister, Diamond on the Hill, Castle City, and right at the foot under Kieran Schumacher is Racing Breaks Rider. And earlier in the day, we had the Oak Tree for the filly and mares over the same 1,400-metre trip. That might give you an indicator as to how tricky it can be for a run. And look no further than a 20-runner capacity field as we show you that course map to finish the day. Right, I'm going to get the thoughts of both Graham Cunningham and John Blance. John, I'm going to start with you. And the progressive Crimson Spirit continues to win.
Yes, for the very shrewd operation of Daniel and Claire Cooper's 3 wins on the bounce now, 76 up to 89. This was a pretty easy win at Epsom. It wasn't a great race. It's a it was a big step up in class for this horse. The problem for me is that they'll want to go forward gate 20. So that is going to be tricky, no doubt about it. So this is the toughest race this horse has been engaged in this run of good form, and a difficult draw.
I think that draw is absolutely terrifying when looking at it, but can't really fault the way the horse has been going and winning at Epsom. Now transitions to Goodwood. That is Crimson Spirit, who bids to make it a 4-time. And let's have a look at some Newmarket July course form involving a few of them. Cracking Gold coming out on top of this piece of form, Graham. Great Acclaim's there. Physique's there. The third, who doesn't run, has since come out and won at the July Festival. Is this good enough form for you?
I think good enough to run well, not good enough to get towards the top of my list. My only objection to Cracking Gold is that he was all out here. As you can see, it's a 3-way go, left of pitch, a chestnut horse in the Rooney colours, largely yellow, and he finds plenty off the bridle, but he's shown his hand to the handicap. But he's only gone up £3, and the third horse has won. That's a positive, but he didn't have an ounce to spare here. It's a slightly better race at Goodwood, and he's higher in the weight. So not for me, Clive.
I think he can go quite well. I think Graham makes a very good case for the horse and the pros and cons. But that was a good last couple of furlongs he reeled off there against horses who are much further forward in the run than him. I think it was a good effort. There's going to be plenty of speed in this race. I think hold-up horses are going to have a good chance here, and he's one of those. And he took a bit of a keen hold at Newmarket last time as well. And
Crimson Spirit and Cracking Gold, ridden respectively by, as we're contractually obliged to call them, Hong Kong-bound horses, Probert and Kingscote.
Let's have a look at last year's race, because it's not the only time across the week that defending champs are back for more, John. In the case of Blue Prince and Billy Joe, you got the first and second. Blue Prince hasn't been seen for a while and actually returned to Goodwood for the first time since last year. Generally runs well here and certainly did this day.
Yeah, he's a funny old horse. He spends most of his time on the all-weather, then rocks up to Goodwood and says, thank you very much here. Although last year he had much more of a prep for this race. He's coming in off quite a long break this time. Yep. This is a good performance. But for me, that's just slightly worrisome. Billy Joe stays on really well here. From a wide draw on that occasion, had to come out to produce the run. Had run on the Saturday prior at Ascot as well. So there's no problem with a quick backup for this horse. And again, with a strong gallop, he ran pretty well at Ascot the other day. So he goes in my numbers. I'm a bit concerned about the lack of a run for Blue Prince.
Gentlemen, you missed him on from that race. Horse steaming home on the outside for third from stall 20.
Yeah,
was Racing Breaks Rider. He comes back in good form with a lower draw this time, and every time he goes to Goodwood, he runs a really good race.
Yeah, and he's only £4 higher as well, so he should go pretty well too.
You said about Billy Joe, who's doing a similar thing. Actually, went on to become third in the Stewards Cup later in that same week as well. Yeah. So, you know, he likes Goodwood.
Money Muncher. Money Muncher. He's lost 19 in a row now.
Yeah. I'm sure. I think he won his side in the Stewards Cup that day, and I'm sure they're looking forward to getting him back for more. Anyway, do you know what that did, Graham? That piece of VT we just saw there, it just refreshed into my mind how fiercely horrible it can be sometimes visually to watch some of those handicap big field ones at Goodwood. So I'm looking forward to this year's renewal nonetheless. Who's your 1, 2, 3, 4?
Incredibly tough. Get your excuses in even earlier this time. 14, Mr. Chaplin swooped to win a good nursery at this meeting last year. Only had 2 runs this time around. Came to Goodwood, got hemmed in a pocket. Hard luck. Last time out, he was on the wrong side in the Britannia handicap at Royal Ascot. Back to Goodwood. I think we'll see a better run from him. 16, Defence Minister at the 48-hour stage. And this would be a canny trick. James Doyle is declared on 2 horses. One of them is Defence Minister, who ran really well last time. 20, Racing Breaks Rider is back at Goodwood and back with a place chance. And 13, Lead Man was back on song at Newmarket last time. But this, they've saved the hardest one to last, I think, John.
Yeah, lots of pace though. Quite the 4 pretty obvious front runners here, so I think it's going to set them up for closers. And I've got a horse called Lead Man on top. We didn't see, but run a really good race at Newmarket last time out. From the back, stayed on really strongly. Came home in some pretty sharp sectionals as well. 2 Tribes advertised that form very well as well at Ascot on Saturday. So I like Lead Man on top. Cracking Gold in there for second. Billy Joe, he might have munched money on a win line, but on a place line, he's done you all right. And I think he'll go well, horse number 4. And Mr. Chaplin, for all the reasons that Graham said, won that big nursery here last year and can go well here too. So 13, 3, 4 and 14 for me.
Lead Man for me. They've dodged softer ground the last twice. They're hopefully getting back on some better surface, although there might be a bit of rain around on day one. Best of luck, whatever you're going for. John, Graham, thank you very much indeed as we come to the end of a 7-race marathon preview. Once again, I'm sitting out tomorrow, so have a great time on the 3rd and final World Pool Day. And I'll see you again very soon. But to John and to Graham, thank you. And thank you very much indeed for watching.